Today's video is sponsored by Castlecraft. Castlecraft is a real-time PvP strategy game where your skills decide the outcome of a battle. Form different types of armies by deploying commanders and units to catch the opponent off guard. Get free gifts by pre-registering with my link, which includes 1,500 rubies, 30,000 gold, and 3 uncommon cards. So get ready to show your strategic skills, receive rewards for conquering, and join and compete with other guilds to see who is the strongest. So use my link in the description and check out Castlecraft. So over a year ago, I made a video on this very weapon, and now it seems to be getting a lot of attention again. I haven't really shared my thoughts on it too much, so I want to talk about Sword and I guess why people think it is extremely good, possibly the best weapon in the game, and what can happen and what could change. Sword has literally been around since the beginning of the game, since the very conception of Brawlhalla, and honestly, it's always been a dominant force. People think Sword was good now. I mean, if you ever get the chance, and I'll need to make a video on the first and like earlier versions of Brawlhalla, Sword was like a nightmare. I mean, you watch any like old highlight reel of the weapon, it was crazy how good the weapon was. But here we are now. It's 2021. It's not some like 2014 type beat. So Sword, yeah, I actually made a video on Sword, give or take a year ago, and it was kind of in the same like state where it was very clearly an extremely good weapon, possibly way too good. And I think it's starting to get back to that point, especially as other weapons change. And in the upcoming patch, I mean, I think more than anything, it's likely that we'll see probably no sword changes. I would be very shocked if we did. Just because like gauntlets and guitars have dominated so heavily that I think those are probably going to be the main priorities. I mean, not saying that they couldn't and shouldn't put something in for a sword change, but I don't know. I just kind of have not extremely high expectations when it comes to the balance patches, unfortunately. Like, I don't think they'll really see like a problem with Sword. But yeah, Sword probably right now the like biggest strength to me. Endlight's always there. Sidelight. Gravity cancel sidelight for like engaging, just the ability to like endlight and then also go above nair and dare, or dare nair in that case, is just so good. Also, even like one of the worst swords, I mean, I don't even know who exactly is the worst sword, but a character like Jiro, even without the SIGs, like you could literally just play him for his sword at this point. They buffed the sword SIGs, so if you were like just looking to play Scythe as like a secondary weapon and you're mainly a sword player, I mean, this is a great thing to actually invest in right now, because this character, like if you're just gonna play him for sword, it's actually pretty good. Especially if you take strength stance, like why not give a little more strength? There we go. I mean, literally just a free edge guard right there. If you know how to like move and just place simple moves like dare, ground pound, you know, maybe a Sair if you're like horizontal with them, it just becomes so easy. And I think that easiness is a big thing that people despise about Sword. It's so easy, therefore why does it feel like it's so good? And I don't know, that's just part of it. It's kind of like how I talked about Scythe, you know, the most unique weapon or whatever, that video I made a couple days ago. Sword is kind of in the same boat where the design is so good that it becomes like its own detriment. It becomes the thing that people despise of it. Like Scythe, I think, benefits it more than anything, where that's why Scythe is always going to be good. And that's just a very similar tale with Sword. It's just that it's built to be a very easy weapon, a very reliable weapon. So all the moves, you know, there's nothing on the moves that feel like it's, I guess that just feel like bad or anything. Like everything feels good to use. Everything covers a good amount of space. They're all overall very fast. I mean, especially when you look at a move like Endlight. Endlight is, I think, a lot of people's enemy number one. I mean, another one for sure is Recovery, for me at least. I think Recovery is way too good, but the thing is, I don't like, how do you change that? The design of Recovery is good unless they were to absolutely butcher damage and like the force maybe. I can't see how that move is ever going to get changed, and I don't even have, like I said, that much faith that they'll do anything meaningful to Sword in the next patch, if anything at all. It's just very hard for me to believe. It's just super versatile. I mean, the movement you can do while on the weapon is absolutely nuts. especially when you get higher speed legends like Hattori, right? Base 8 speed, which I am playing base stance. it just becomes so easy to weave in and out, and especially in 2v2, right, where it's very, very hectic. A character like Hattori is just awesome because sword, like I said, it covers a lot. It's easier to place certain moves and like help follow up off your teammate, maybe get your teammate off of sticky situations. There's just a lot of like non-commitment, and when you add the high speed onto Hattori, it becomes just insane, right? Like with Cody, for example. Cody will be doing his thing, you know, absolutely dominating, being God King on Brawlhalla, but then I can come in at any point and just fly in and help the guy and just hit a Sarah, even if it's something small. But if I see that he has something and I'm all the way over here, I can just run and just instantly be there. Especially like if I don't think I'll even make it, I have a sidelight. I have a move that'll really roll across half the map and it will catch them, which is very, very, very nice. Also, this guy already playing like they've shut down mentally, just throwing out all those NSIGs. But another thing that I think Sword suffers from is the fact that I think some people think it's a bit boring and it can get a little stale to watch, because a Sword Ditto, I mean, a Ditto in Brawlhalla in general is not the best thing in the world to watch, but if you watch like how a lot of top level Sword is being played right now, I mean, you see a lot of people move in and then they do like that dodge. People call it the Megdi tech, I guess, because he was probably one of the first people to really do it consistently. It's super good, don't get me wrong. I mean, you can't blame someone for using something that's very, very good, obviously. But at the same time, that type of style isn't the best to watch. And I think Sword, like every weapon can thrive under it, just given that all you're doing is jumping and then back dodging. But that can be very, very good for it. Also, just people waiting, you know, just waiting, and just like looking for guaranteed punishes, because Sword doesn't necessarily have an insane string game. You can do like D-Light Dare, Recovery, D-Light Dare, Sair, D-Light Dare, N-Light is another one. Even D-Light Dare, D-Light if you can get a ledge cancel. But I think the thing is with Sword is that there's no big strings really. I mean, you know, people say the D-Light Dare combos are probably a little too good, and I can understand where they're coming from. Sorry, I'm trying to do triple D-Light on him. I know it's possible on this map. I think this map is actually Hattori's best, so I kind of want to make use of it, but whatever. We're gonna forget it for now. Yeah, but Sword is just a weapon that's like filled with non-commitment. The playstyle that I think that a lot of people use it with, like, it can play any playstyle, but if you're gonna play the poke game, it does very, very good at that, just because, you know, N-Light is just extremely fast in both, like, all the aerials, really, aside from Sair. Sair's probably, like, the laggiest out of all of them. It's just a really easy weapon to use. And I think something that doesn't really, like, help Sword's case is the fact that you have legends like Val. Val, insane example to use. Like, it's actually perfect. Val has probably the best Sword NSIG in the game. Extremely, like, borderline lagless. Covers a lot. Like, the fact that it hits grounded is really, really good. It's just so hard to punish a lot of the time. It is punishable, but, you know, you get the point. On Sword, or, you know, for Sword, this is just an insane weapon to use. I think SIGs like this, or just characters that have really good SIG kits on Sword, it only supplements the hatred towards the weapon, because, you know, even if it is tied to the character, the signature is tied to the character, it's just one of those things where, I mean, dude, it still is part of the Sword kit technically, for that legend specifically. So I feel like people, they'll get hit by these certain SIGs, or they'll have to fight against these certain characters, and it'll just be like, dude, like, what? Like, Sword's already this easy, but then, you know, I can also, you know, go a step further and then use, like, these SIGs. Like, that's 3 SIGs alone. Val literally has 3 SIGs in one move, and then you have, you know, you can do this, and you throw at that. Oh, you missed. Oh, okay. Well, then, you know, okay, it gets a little read. Happens, I guess. I gravity canceled, I think. But, okay, there's that. And then I can just chase you down. Recovery. Why not? Another recovery. You're not going to be able to punish that because it goes so high and so far. Another recovery, because, you know, I can also hit you grounded with it. Yeah. As you can see, I'm harping on recovery a lot. I think recovery is just absolutely bonkers on the weapon. Like, Recovery's so good. I just can't, like, I can't explain. If you've ever played against Sword, which if you've never played against Sword, you are an untainted soul. I will say that much. But Recovery is just the absolute worst to play against, especially given that if you get tipped by it, it basically acts as the same. Obviously they don't get the full damage, like it's only gonna be like 5 damage probably, but you're still gonna get like rocket shipped, especially if you're really damaged, and it can just be a nuisance. That's sick. We got the new map, and we get to end it off on Jaehyun as well. I think Jaehyun has an extremely solid sword kit still, but they did nerf it a little bit. I think like his end sig is really good. I mean, side sig's still side sig. Like they did add some recovery on it, so it isn't as good. Obviously, it definitely would hurt it. Okay, sidelight, end light. Again, another easy thing. If they have no dodge, you can work with the sidelight into end light. Like I said, sword doesn't have a crazy good string game, and I think that's how it should be for the most part. I guess string and combo game. I mean, combo game, I guess it actually does have a pretty insane combo game when you look at it, because you're able to do all this stuff off D-Light. D-Light into anything literally is true, even ground pound. Some SIGs as well. So it's just interesting. There's not much else to say aside from that sword. I think to a lot of people, it's frustrating for them to play against it, because I feel like some people, given the weapons they play, you know, you might look at cannon or scythe. Blasters is a huge one. You work so hard for like the reward, and then sword, it's kind of like, okay, well, sword's gonna get like 16, 17 damage a hit probably, and they just like sit here and like throw out these instantaneous moves that are really easy to hit. There's almost no likelihood that they'll drop. I guess sword D-Light does have some like issues over edge, but if you know your like sword spacing at what height that you have to jump for a D-Light, then you're gonna be fine. It's just kind of like, it's an acquired taste thing. Like the more you play sword, the more you realize like when D-Light on edge is gonna like be a little wonky. But also recovery does drop. If recovery never dropped on sword, I mean, this weapon, even though that's only like a fix or whatever, this weapon would be so good. It's like, it's unreal. And the weapon already is in such a solid state. But yeah, I just can't. If that never dropped, that would be crazy. Just because like it happens every once in a while, like a couple times a game, I would say. So it's definitely like you know, a get out of jail free card. So to summarize, really, I think that the patch where they buffed sword nair, it kind of left a sour taste in people's mouths. Sure, it was only 1 damage to nair, but at the same time, it kind of felt unnecessary given that nair was already good. It almost showed us like what the headspace was of the developers when they were making that change. I have a feeling though that sword's not going to get changed in the next upcoming patches, so almost without a doubt, sword's going to be one of the best weapons in the game for sure. If it already isn't now, I still think it's probably like behind gauntlets, maybe, just because gauntlets do have a little more combos in them. But if they get hit, if gauntlets get hit decently, even, like, it doesn't have to be anything ridiculous, just the right changes could put sword in like another stratosphere. But we'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you around. Peace, guys.